Anytime you're hit with a political message or claim, and that's all the time nowadays, it is fair for you to ask, says who? That basic transparency. Whose money's talking here? That is the foundation of being an informed voter. Transparency is hard, apparently, at least based on what we're seeing in Denver, like the mailer from Republicans for Jamie Gillis. No such group. Gillis's mayoral campaign was behind it and did not disclose that as required by law. Our Marshall Zellinger caught up with the voter who caught it.
Mailers from the Tate campaign and from the Gillis campaign, from Hancock's campaign.
Florence Seaburn is a Denver voter who might pay a little more attention than most of us.
Every campaign mailer that comes into this house, I look for certain things because I am familiar with the requirements.
She has filed 2 complaints on political mail. One of them is for this Republicans for Jamie Gillis mailer. It doesn't say who paid for it, which is required, but the address is the Jamie Gillis for Mayor headquarters.
We actually have a candidate and campaign information meeting before every single election.
That means the Gillis campaign should have known better. In a response to Seaburn's complaint, the campaign called it an oversight. Did you feel like your name was used to mislead the public?
Oh, not at all.
Former State Republican Party Chairman Ryan Call was a prominent name on the Gillis mailer.
Most voters aren't necessarily persuaded by what the paid for by disclaimer is on the bottom of a mailer. What's important to them is the substance of that communication.
So what's the punishment for leaving out something simple like paid for by? Do you have to send more mail saying, here's who we are?
The hearings officer may make a determination that, okay, well, because this is already out the door, we may be having to look at a fine as opposed to resend to however many people if there's some kind of violation determined.
Then there are the texts, like this one I got asking me to vote no on 300, the right to camp in public spaces. Denver Elections tells me I shouldn't have to ask if the texting campaign costs more than $1,000.
It is a mass communication, so we believe there should be some level of disclosure.
I have found you can have a lot of fun in those text messages. Just say whatever you really want. If you don't want to get those texts, by the way, as we say often, update your voter registration. If your phone number is in there, wipe it out. Once those future campaigns update their database, they should not have your phone number, hopefully.
It's kind of tasty to give those texters a piece of your mind on the issues when they contact you.
Oh yeah,
I think a lot of people do that. So what's the deal? I mean, is the Gillis campaign going to get in trouble for this? I mean, they're going to have to cash out of their pocket.
Yeah, the fine could be about $500, I'm hearing, but they have 30 days to figure this out, and by the time 30 days are up, the election's over, and whatever, they're like, whatever, we'll just pay. Or what if they actually had to mail something out? It'd be too late at that point.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Marshall. Mm-hmm. It's pretty clear Jamie Gillis has a problem here, and it honestly is not that mailer from Republicans for Jamie Gillis that just turned out to be Gillis's mayoral campaign. I mean, that's the problem under election law, but Gillis's problem is larger than that. So she's running to replace Mayor Michael Hancock by promising more ethical government, more accountable government, and more transparent government. This whole thing does not exactly scream ethics, accountability, and transparency. Mayor Hancock's team is surely going to delight in Gillis's stumble. They have aimed more criticism at her than his other challengers. We have not seen their private polling, but you have to assume that if any challenger poses a threat to Hancock, they think that it's Gillis. But while this issue may hurt her, it doesn't make the mayor any less likely to end up in a runoff election. Any voter who decides to move away from Gillis is likely to vote for one of the mayor's other challengers. The test for the mayor, and we don't know how much of a test it's going to be, is avoiding that runoff by getting 50% of the vote plus 1. If it's a runoff, that's when he could be in real trouble, facing the combined forces of all of his challengers, including all those Republicans for Jamie Gillis. Paid family leave is dead at the state capitol for this year. Democrats are abandoning their plan to have every employer and every employee in Colorado pay a fee to fund up to 12 weeks of paid leave per worker per year so they could take care of a sick family member. The business community had some concerns, and it could have faced a court challenge that it wasn't really a fee, but actually a tax, and those have to be voted on statewide under the Taxpayer Bill of Rights. Illegal Pete's is getting into a legal fight with the state of Delaware. The company is suing Delaware for refusing to allow it to become a limited liability company there because of its name. The illegal part, I assume they're cool with Pete's. Delaware is saying that the name Illegal Pete's has a negative connotation. Negative connotation means an unfavorable overtone. Like if I were to say to you that Delaware is a haven for shell corporations. See, that has a negative connotation. Anyway, Illegal Pete's says the burrito place's name is no reference to immigration or to people who are here illegally. It's actually a tribute to the owner's father, who was a quote-unquote good old-fashioned hellraiser. Drive 287 in Longmont and you will see a ribbon tied to a tree. And then another, and another. More than a mile's worth of them. Our Katie Eastman set out to discover their message.
There's a mystery of sorts on the edge of a Longmont neighborhood. Who tied these yellow ribbons to trees?
That's a big question. It was in the newspaper not too long ago. People thought it was me, but I swear it was not me.
Well, Randy Hoffman doesn't know who. He has a pretty good idea why.
Yeah, the trees are a big deal here.
The ribbons are tied to the 58 trees the city plans to remove when they widen Pike Road.
And we take our trees very seriously here.
You see, this isn't just any neighborhood. The designer is the same person who created the movie set for The Truman Show.
What if you didn't know it until now?
The way they portrayed it is, in many ways, a lot of what this community is like.
Minus the whole everyone is an actor except for one man part. But still, Hoffman and his neighbors take pride in the new urbanist design.
For any place, removing 58 trees along a road is a big deal, but for us it's an exceptionally important factor.
We did not want to take out the trees, but the challenge here is the topography of the roadway does not allow us to simply widen to the north.
Longmont's Director of Engineering, Jim Engstedt, says Pike has to be widened.
Oh, look, someone on a bike.
For a turning lane onto 287 and a bike lane.
We'll fit that in.
These trees are left over from a tree farm in the 90s. Engstedt says they were already too close to the road.
And unfortunately, the trees are just in the wrong location.
Wrong for the city, but right for this neighborhood. For Next, I'm Katie Eastman.
And the city says just 5 of those 58 trees will be able to be replanted. Longmont would like to start widening the road this summer.
And they well knew this, Katie, but people have such an emotional attachment to the trees in their neighborhood.
They do.
All right, Katie, thank you so much. Looking at a fresh batch of property assessments from the metro area suggests that home values are still rising around here, though they may be stabilizing. Assessors from Denver, Adams, Arapahoe, Boulder, Douglas, Elbert, and Jefferson County spent the morning rattling off numbers to the media about home assessments this year. They say that this year's increases were not as steep as what they've seen in the past. Now, that does not necessarily mean your taxes are going to increase. And remember, you can always appeal your assessment.
Generally speaking, we get about a 5% appeal rate for residential properties.
It is our goal to get it right, to have the values be fair and accurate and defensible. Meaning, when you talk to us about it, we'll explain to you why we're right, not tell you we were wrong. I mean, if we're wrong, we'll fix it. But our goal is to be right.
I love that. If you challenge it, we will tell you why we are right. Each county will be mailing out assessments at different times, so just keep an eye on your mail. The deadlines to appeal county by county can be found on that paperwork or on your county's website. It's a sign that your GPS does not care if you drive off a cliff or get stranded somewhere. Next viewer named Chuck sent us this photo of a sign near Little Bear Creek Road in Clear Creek County. It reads, "Do not trust your GPS. Stop. Turn around now. Off-road vehicles only." The sheriff's office requested the sign last fall after drivers kept getting stuck up there. Their GPS would tell them it was a safe way to go to get around I-70 closures at Floyd Hill. But only part of that road is maintained. The older part is meant for off-road vehicles only. You found proof for us that you can still cross a line even if you are not touching it. Take it from our viewer, Willie. Spotted a parking situation outside a restaurant in Lakewood. Yeah, the guy in the convertible there is not crossing a line technically, but that's a surprise for the driver of the pickup if he or she would like to leave. I'm always curious how these situations resolve. Email your pictures to next@9news.com or get our attention with the hashtag #HeyNext.
The world moves on after mass shootings, but the survivors and the victims don't. PTSD and other mental health consequences stay with survivors.
So a DU freshman has come up with a new way to help them find resources and help. Ruining a fun celebration of the Avs playoff success is not how you Colorado. But this is buying beers for the King in the North. Remember him? Next. Colorado students are safe. I feel like we should reiterate that right off the bat every time that we deal with new security scares as well as misinformation swirling about school lockdowns. Today, a student was taken into custody at McGlone Academy in Denver. Police say that the student took an airsoft gun to school and made some threats. In Boulder County, Arapahoe Ridge High School was searched after a tip that somebody had a gun there. No weapon was found. There's a freshman at the University of Denver working to be part of the solution on school safety. Our Nelson Garcia interviewed her after the shooting at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida last year. And now an update. Within the month, she plans to release an app that will help connect communities to mental health support.
A year ago, I just created this new project called Never a Gun Tack, which, back then my idea was using predictive analytics and machine learning to prevent mass shootings. Yeah, so my name is Sharina Lapati. I'm 18 years old. I'm a freshman at the University of Denver. It's a tough subject to handle, to kind of apply artificial intelligence to a subject that's very ambiguous. It's not black or white, and there's not a lot of data behind it. Really, over this past year, we really solidly found a purpose for the organization, and now we're focused on ways to implement it. After the suicides of Sidney Irello and Jeremy Richmond, father of AVL Richmond, who died in the Sandy Hook attack, we realized that, the world moves on after mass shootings, but the survivors and the victims don't. So that's why we created this app. What it is a mobile app which is specifically catered towards gun violence victims and survivors. Growing up, I was aware of these incidents, but after Parkland, when I saw youth, students like me, really taking, coming forward and taking a chance and really taking their own future into their own hands, that's when I really decided, okay, I can do something about it too. We're just really touching the surface of a problem that's really deep and is entrenched in culture, and it's entrenched politically, but we can't really we're trying to extricate the politicalness out of it, right?
That app will be released to just a few communities to begin with: Parkland, Florida, Newtown, Connecticut, and Sao Paulo, Brazil. So I had jury duty today. Did not get on a jury, which is a bummer, because I've always wanted to get in there and dish out some hot, fresh justice, or at least, glance over at the bailiff during key moments and whisper, dun dun. I think I'd make a good juror. I try to be fair and impartial. I'm used to evaluating competing claims, and I also really enjoy judging people. But anyway, so every time I get called, I get really jazzed for jury duty. So that attitude, as well as my use of the word jazzed, would indicate a certain amount of privilege on my part. I have a child care situation which can accommodate jury duty. I have a job where I can go to jury duty at the crack of dawn and then come here to work in the afternoon and evening. And I've also had generally positive interactions with our justice system over the course of my life. Know that a lot of people can't say that. I will say this, though, about the jury selection process. In Denver this morning, where I was, and anywhere that you might get called to serve, you're going to be in a room that will probably be the most representative sample of your whole community that you'll ever see. A wider cross-section than you would tend to find in your neighborhood or your grocery store, your workplace, your church, your favorite place to eat. Jury service is one of the few things that we get to do with nearly all of our neighbors, people from every walk of life. I personally would like to work on a little 1 to 3 day group project with some of them. And the judging. I also would have enjoyed the judging. Our meteorologist and friend Danielle Grant is finally back from foot surgery.
Here I am.
Look at you.
No.
Look at you.
I need a reverse button and probably a helmet too. But yep, I am back in action, back to work after a week of sitting on the couch. And what a day to be back, right? All that sunshine out there, just gorgeous. A couple of clouds. Forgot my clicker in my basket.
It's in the bucket.
I know. I got a little basket. It's awesome. So here's HD Doppler 9. We have the clouds that are pushing in right now. Maybe a quick isolated little shower later tonight, 9, 10 o'clock. Nothing crazy. Otherwise, just mostly cloudy skies. All right, I'm going to try to back it up. Tonight, 44. We're going mostly cloudy. Winds will be a bit breezy out of the northwest. Otherwise, you're fine. 40s along the eastern plains, 30s going up in the high country. Here we are by about 9, 10 o'clock. There are the isolated showers coming through parts of the Denver area and then further up to the north across the northeastern plains. They don't last long, but I will be tracking a cold front that's pushing in early tomorrow morning. Won't bring us any rain, no snow, just a little bit of a cool off, maybe a few scattered showers tomorrow afternoon, evening. Further to the south, Otherwise, we're A-OK. Here comes the front. Slightly cooler temperatures today. I mean, we were spoiled. We were sitting in the 70s. It was glorious. Tomorrow, the numbers... This is harder than it looks. We'll be back into the mid-60s under partly cloudy skies. Otherwise, should be a fairly solid, dry day for us. 60s across the eastern plains, 50s going up in the mountains. And then look at this 7-day forecast, kind of all over the place. We're back to the heat, possibly a couple of thunderstorms Friday afternoon. A solid start to the weekend at 71 with mostly sunny skies. Chance for a couple of scattered showers, thunderstorms Sunday afternoon and evening. And then what? Look at Monday and Tuesday, upper 40s into the 50s, rain, possibly some snowfall early Tuesday morning. And then Wednesday, we kind of bounce back to the 60s. We'll be back after this.
We interrupt the nonstop coverage of the Broncos pre-draft preparations to remind you that both the Nuggets and the Avs are in the playoffs. Avs learned last night they'll face the San Jose Sharks in the second round of the Stanley Cup playoffs, first game in San Jose on Friday. It's a shame that some love for the Avs has turned into a situation where we have to remind someone that's not how you Colorado. Employees at the Sinclair gas station off Hamden and Yosemite in South Denver dressed up their dinosaur mascot as an Avs goalie. And then some fool stole the jersey last night. A few of you had seen that Avosaurus, as you were calling it, and sent us pictures before that thievery happened last evening. You know who we haven't talked about in a while? Travis Kaufman. You remember the guy who fended off an attacking mountain lion with his bare hands up near Fort Collins? I asked all of you to make a promise, and you've delivered. Long live the King in the North. Next. The most Travis Kaufman thing we've seen today is someone trying to make sure that the man who fought off an attacking mountain lion doesn't pay for a beer in this state again. Zwei Brewing in Fort Collins has a beer it forward board. You've seen these where you can leave a beer or two for somebody on your tab. Travis Kaufman's name is up there. 2 free beers coming his way courtesy of Dandy Painting. And that is how you do it, Colorado. Travis Kaufman drinks free for life. Kathy Snyder writes in, Kyle, you are in serious need of fashion advice. You do not wear a pocket square without a tie, and that blue shirt, awful, awful, awful. But I still love your show and you. Love you too, Kathy. Audrey Reyes writes in, how was your jury duty experience in Denver District Court? Us staffers would like to know. You guys are fantastic. Smooth process this morning. And John Westcott loves himself some Danielle Grant, says, finally, someone to give Kyle the boot. See you next time.